when I was setting up for today's video, I have like my flowers, my cute little plant. I'm like, make me an Eden, Charlotte. Y'all know what that's from. Y'all know what that's from. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. We're sipping on some Dawn Quiet today because I got cramps. That's what it is. That's how we're starting off the video. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney, aka A Shawty That Reads. Please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future literary content and my herbal tea content, you guys, okay? So in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Twisted, The Tangled History of Black Hair Culture by Emma Dabiri. This is the book that we discussed for Shawty's Book Club. For those of you who don't know, I do run a book club over on my Instagram at Shawty Reads. Please go follow me if you don't. And it's really fun. I conduct it via IG Live. It's community-based, so every book that we discuss is available on my online bookstore, purpleskiesbookstore.com, and it is voted for by my Instagram reading community that I just love so much. So this book club, we discussed Twisted, and Twisted was not what we expected, I believe, in the best way possible. I think we all kind of thought it was just going to be like her personal hair journey, but it is a historical hair journey. There's just so much information in this book that I was not aware of or that I was reminded of, and this really helped me look at Black hair in a whole new context. Because I think we're all familiar with colorism when we talk about racism, and we kind of leave hair out of the picture sometimes. And we don't realize how much hair plays into controlling Black bodies or discriminating against Black bodies. So she starts off the book by explaining when Europeans first went to Africa, and they saw what everyone was doing. Hair played a huge role in society, right? So that was one of the first ways they started controlling Black people through their hair. Because for Europeans, they're looking around and they're like, look, this is me being loose with it. They're like, everyone's sitting around doing each other's hair. No one's really doing anything productive. Let's start creating this 9-to-5. Basically. And so now we still currently live by that schedule. We have a 9-to-5, and Black women are expected to have their hair done in a professional manner and do all this and that, and be at work by 9 and look decent, whatever that means. Okay, because I was that person that would always show up to work with my hair wet. And that was an issue. And I'm like, I have to be here at 7:30 in the morning. Like, please tell me how, because we're not doing a blow dryer with this, and we're not doing a diffuser either, because I don't like doing that. So it's a lot. It's just, she already starts off with that. And I was just like, oh my God, I had never considered it that way. And she also talks about our feelings towards getting our hair done. And I think a lot of us like to say, I don't have time, because even me saying this just shows how colonized my mind is. Basically, like, I don't have time to get my hair done. It's time consuming. Just that phrase right there, time consuming. For the Yoruba people, so most of the examples she's taking from this text are from the Yoruba people or the Mende people, just so y'all know. So for them, hair braiding was a community thing. This is something that you enjoy doing. You're spending time with your hair braider, and you don't just let anybody touch your hair either. This is a very spiritual act. And I recently got my hair done, and when I say I apply these readings to my real life, y'all. Like, I don't play. I really, really try. So this time I got my hair done, and I really chose someone that I admire and that I get along with. She's my Aries twin, my twin fire, okay? And I was there for a really long time, and it was great. We were hanging out, and she was also doing my hair, and it was one of the first times that I felt that way, because any other time I'm like, oh Jesus, are you almost like, girl, where are we at? Where are we at in the process? Like, I'm trying to go. But so this was the first time where I really felt that connection, and I wouldn't have thought about it that way, or probably even felt that if I had not read this book. So that's just one way it's already applied, or I already applied it to my personal life. Also just noticing, after reading this book, you see the closer your hair texture gets to black hair, or what people perceive to be black hair, the more you're hated for it. I noticed just walking around with braids, and this isn't the first time I've had them. Like, this has been a case study for years. And after reading this, I'm like, I really got to put this to the test. So, I've been going on my walks and stuff, and I walk around, and I definitely get more of these than, I usually get my little like polite nod, but people are just so uneducated, ignorant. There are more words for it. So that's why, again, reading books like this is important. Please educate yourself. Know what to say and what not to say about black hair, and what to say and what not to say to black people, because I think language is huge, and it's something that we all need to work on. Even within the black community, there's so much division that we still see. It's like we're still in the 1800s, and we really, really have to work on it and take some accountability. All of us, everybody. Words like nappy, coarse, kinky. I feel like people have a negative association with kinky, so I don't know about that one. But when talking about black hair, let's use positive language: abundant, plentiful, magical, alive, reaching for the sun. Like that. I don't want to hear nappy, coarse, unruly, frizzy. Frizzy's my trigger word, y'all. Because she obviously talks about that in this book. She talks about a lot in this book. But in the Yoruba culture, there's a saying, a beauty's woman is in her braided hair, loosely translated. And that's just so different from what we've been brought up to believe in America, in the West. It's not seen as something beautiful. I've heard so many black men say, I don't like girls with braids. I don't talk to girls with braids. Like, all these standards. And it's not just them. We have these beauty standards that were created to leave us out, to make us feel like we're not enough. Like, these are Eurocentric beauty standards that we are still trying to conform to. And we have to get to a point where, black hairstyles are celebrated on black women. Don't worry, y'all. She goes for the Kardashians in here. Don't you worry, because it's real disappointing to see them being praised for styles that we're hated for, discriminated against for, criminalized. Like, I could keep it. I wrote a blog post in conjunction with this video. It's linked in the bio so you guys can go read it, but I titled it like, how can you love me and hate black people? And that's a play on her words. There's a chapter in here titled, how can you love me and hate my hair? But it's all the same thing. And I think that really hit home for me because I'm biracial. The author is also biracial. We had different, everyone has different upbringings. Everything is situational. But with my white family, I definitely have racist family members, whether they know it or not. And I think that, people don't want to hear what biracial people have to say, because like I said, it's like we're still living in the 1800s. But yeah, sometimes when you're half white, your family members don't like black people, which means they don't like you. It's the same thing to me. So yeah, I write about that in the blog post. It's so interesting to have these conversations, because they're difficult conversations to have. In her case, she was raised in Ireland. She was one of like the only black people in Ireland, and she received a lot of hate for her hair, which is how this book came to be, because she's biracial. So people expected her to have a certain texture of hair, and when she didn't, because she has tighter curls, it grows out, don't grow down, and people expect you to have like long, loose, flowing curls when you're mixed, and that's not the case all the time. So that's when she first started noticing the texturism, and how people really look at your hair and judge you for your hair texture, and how I even though it's so obvious, I feel like I didn't really look at it that way, because when I was growing up, the school I went to, I was one of the only Black kids there, and I was bullied, you guys. And I never thought, you guys know I'm Black because of my hair. But after reading this book, I'm like, wait, that's all I was really made fun of for. No one made fun of my skin tone. Like, I know I'm light skinned. I know this. But it was my hair. And I do have hair. I'm aware in the Black community, it's seen as good hair. Gotta cut that shit out too. Don't like that. No good hair, but it's hair. But I know in the Black community, I have what's considered good hair, but my surroundings at school, that was not the case. I was made fun of. My hair is ugly. It's frizzy. It's big. It's nappy. I got my hair cornrowed once in 5th grade. I remember, y'all, traumatizing. Just people went in, and I would have never. It didn't connect for me until reading this book. I'm like, oh, you guys knew I was Black because you see my hair texture, you see like my skin color. I guess some people think I'm Latina. I don't know, but I didn't realize how much that affected me, or how much my hair was even discussed. And then I go home to people, or not go home to them, but go to family events to people who say things like, oh, you look like a wild woman with your hair like that. You know how white people be saying stuff. And I'm like, a wild woman? Because this is my hair that grows out of my head, and just having to hear things and answer ignorant questions, it's a lot. It's a lot. And this book took me back to that place. And I'm like, oh my God, now I have the language to emotionally advocate for myself and be like, look at the history. You can't, like, I'm just so tired of people thinking they can tell like Black people what to do with their hair. And that's basically what texturism is. If you want, your standard definition, I just downloaded the dictionary app. I love that. But examples of texturism, telling Black women, enslaved women, to wrap their hair for fear of competition, because white women didn't like that. Can you believe that? White women didn't like they felt so threatened by like Black women's natural hair. They're like, you got to wrap that shit up. And now, another example, Black women not being able to wear their hair in cornrows in the military until 2014. Another example, forcing Black children, babies, to cut their hair to participate in school events. Thinking you have the right to tell any Black person, how they should or should not wear their hair. That's not that. I don't know who told you were allowed to do that, but for anyone watching, you're not allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to touch it either. That's a different book though, and that's a different discussion. So yeah, there's a lot in here. Okay, she's talking about the history of Black hair culture. She talks about relaxers. That was I think that sparked the most discussion in book club about relaxers. She gave the history of relaxers, talked about her own experience with relaxers. We all talked about our experiences with chemically straightening our hair. Oh, Jesus. All right, just so thankful to have hair on my head still from all that, because I grew up watching my mom do it and watching her, go to her head with a hot comb and all, and that's all I wanted. There were years I didn't even know what my hair looked like natural because I hated it so much. I just heard so much about my hair. I'm like, if I just have to straighten it to get people to stop commenting on it, then I'll do that. So I'm really happy that I've gotten to a point where I don't care anymore, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of confidence to just show up with your hair, natural. And like I said, like I know I don't, because of the hair texture that I have, I don't even experience what people with a tighter hair texture experience at all. Not even the same thing. So keep that in mind when talking about Black hair and your experience. Just know that, like, know where your privilege lies and know where it doesn't, and just be aware of that. So she talks about relaxers. She talks about just colonization in its entirety, basically, from the Black perspective. And I think people need to read more books like this. And I think a lot of people don't get this perspective. It's here waiting for you to read. Read books by Black women. Listen to Black women. We have a lot to say. This book, y'all gotta read it. I feel like books always leave me with questions. And after reading this book and really sitting with it and feeling it and living it for a couple of weeks, the question that I asked myself was, what does it feel like to live in a world where everybody wants what you have, but you're inevitably hated for? And that's such a heavy question, and I'm not going to answer it, and I don't know how to answer it. Simply. But that's what I was left feeling. And there's just so much history tied into it. I think that's why it's such a difficult question to answer. But she really, really dives deep into the shits with this book. So I highly recommend. Like I said, it is available on my online bookstore for you guys to purchase. Purchase one for you, your mama, your friend. Everyone needs this information. I barely touched the surface in this review. It's 240 something pages. 244. And there's so much packed into it. I can't even tell you. So yeah, if you want to learn about Black hair culture, colonialism, the mathematics behind Black hair, braiding, the art that goes into it. If you want to learn about the development of Africa and what was the pause in that development, which was colonialism. And if you just want to learn about what it feels like to be a Black woman in this world, read the book. Breathe easy. Take your sea moss.